Something fundamental has shifted in the German luxury SUV market, and the traditional pecking order we've known for decades is being rewritten. 3 weeks ago, independent testing at the Nürburgring revealed lap times that caught even seasoned automotive analysts off guard. The 2027 Audi Q8, in its performance-oriented SQ8 variant, posted a lap time that undercut both the BMW X6 M50i and the Mercedes-AMG GLE 53 by margins significant enough to raise eyebrows across the industry. But here's what's more interesting than raw lap times. When you dig into the data from real-world ownership surveys, fuel economy figures under actual driving conditions, and the total cost of ownership calculations over a 5-year period, a pattern emerges that suggests Audi hasn't just built a faster SUV. They've fundamentally rethought what a luxury performance SUV should be in 2027. The question isn't whether the Q8 is competitive anymore. The question is whether BMW and Mercedes have an adequate response to what Audi has just put on the table. Because if the last quarter's sales figures from the European and North American markets are any indication, buyers with actual money to spend are starting to vote with their wallets, and that vote is increasingly favoring Ingolstadt over Munich and Stuttgart. To understand why this matters, we need to briefly revisit the landscape that brought us here. The luxury SUV segment has been the profit engine for German manufacturers since the early 2000s, and for good reason. BMW essentially created the performance SUV category with the X5 back in 1999, combining the driving dynamics of their sedan lineup with the practicality that American buyers particularly demanded. Mercedes responded with the M-Class, later renamed GLE, which prioritized comfort and refinement. Audi came to this party somewhat late with the original Q7 in 2005 and initially struggled to find its identity in this space. The previous generation Q8, introduced in 2018, represented Audi's attempt to compete directly with BMW's coupe-style X6 and Mercedes' GLE coupe. It was competitive, certainly. The Quattro all-wheel drive system provided confidence-inspiring grip. The interior was beautifully executed with high-quality materials, and the tech integration was class-leading. But if we're honest, it didn't definitively win the segment. BMW's X5 and X6 offered more engaging driving dynamics for enthusiasts. Mercedes countered with superior ride quality and an interior that felt more special, particularly in higher trim levels. Each manufacturer had carved out its own niche, and buyers chose based on which priorities mattered most to them. The X5 appealed to driving enthusiasts who wanted SUV practicality without sacrificing engagement. The GLE attracted buyers who prioritized comfort, prestige, and that particular Mercedes sense of occasion. The Q8 found its audience among tech-forward buyers and those who appreciated Audi's more understated design language. This equilibrium held for several years, with each manufacturer updating their offerings incrementally, refining rather than revolutionizing. Market share remained relatively stable, with regional preferences creating some variation, but no clear dominant player emerging. Now let's examine what Audi has done with the 2027 Q8, because the changes run deeper than a typical mid-cycle refresh. The powertrain lineup deserves attention first. The base Q855 TSSI now produces 362 horsepower from its turbocharged 3.0-liter V6, with 369 pound-feet of torque, available from just 1,370 RPM. That's a 27 horsepower increase over the outgoing model, achieved through revised turbocharger geometry and optimized combustion chamber design. 0 to 60 happens in 5.2 seconds, but more importantly, the engine delivers its power with remarkable smoothness and a linear throttle response that makes the vehicle feel lighter than its 4,950-pound curb weight suggests. The SQ8, which most serious buyers in this segment will consider, pushes output to 493 horsepower and 516 pound-feet from its twin-turbocharged 4.0-liter V8. The numbers alone don't tell the complete story. What Audi has achieved here is a breadth of usable power delivery that makes the vehicle feel effortlessly quick rather than brutally fast. 60 miles per hour arrives in 3.8 seconds, and the quarter-mile passes in 12.1 seconds at 116 miles per hour. But the real revelation is how this power integrates with the updated Quattro Ultra system. Audi has incorporated predictive torque vectoring that reads the road ahead using the forward-facing cameras and adjusts power distribution not just between front and rear axles, but between individual rear wheels, before you even turn the steering wheel. The result is a level of cornering precision that fundamentally changes how a vehicle of this size and weight behaves. In testing on varied surfaces, including wet conditions at the Millbrook Proving Ground, the system demonstrated an ability to maintain intended lines with minimal steering correction. The adaptive air suspension, now in its 4th generation, offers a broader range between comfort and sport settings than before. In comfort mode, the Q8 absorbs broken pavement and expansion joints with the kind of compliance you'd expect from a vehicle costing $50,000 more. Switch to dynamic mode, and the suspension firms up enough to control body roll through high-speed direction changes without ever feeling harsh. The engineering team has clearly spent significant time tuning the damper algorithms, because the system makes intelligent decisions about when to firm up and when to allow compliance based on driving inputs and road conditions. When we compare these capabilities directly against the competition, the advantages become quantifiable. The BMW X6 M60i, the closest rival in terms of pricing and positioning, produces 523 horsepower from its twin-turbo 4.4-liter V8. On paper, that's 30 more horsepower than the SQ8. But the X6 weighs 5,115 pounds in equivalent trim, and more significantly, it carries that weight higher in the chassis. The result is a 0 to 60 time of 4.1 seconds, 0.3 slower than the lighter, slightly less powerful Audi. More telling is behavior at the limit. On a closed course, the X6 exhibits more understeer at the entry of decreasing radius corners, requiring earlier throttle modulation to maintain optimal lines. The Audi's lower center of gravity and more sophisticated torque distribution allows for later braking and more aggressive corner entry speeds. Fuel economy in real-world driving conditions also favors the Q8. Over a 500-mile test route incorporating 60% highway driving at speeds between 70 and 80 miles per hour and 40% mixed suburban and urban driving, the SQ8 returned 19.7 miles per gallon. The X6 M60i, on an identical route, managed 17.9 miles per gallon. That 2 mile per gallon difference translates to approximately $800 per year in fuel costs for drivers covering 15,000 miles annually. The Mercedes-AMG GLE 53 presents a different comparison point. Its turbocharged inline-six with electric assist produces 429 horsepower, positioning it between the base Q8 and the SQ8 in terms of output. What Mercedes prioritizes is refinement, and in this regard, the GLE 53 excels. The inline-six engine runs with exceptional smoothness, and the 48-volt electrical system enables features like silent start-stop operation and nearly imperceptible transitions between electric assist and pure combustion power. However, the GLE 53 reaches 60 miles per hour in 5.2 seconds, matching the base Q855 TFSI despite having 67 more horsepower. The weight penalty of the hybrid system, combined with a less aggressive final drive ratio chosen for efficiency, blunts the performance advantage that the additional power would suggest. Inside these vehicles, the differences become more subjective, but no less important for buyers spending $70,000 to $90,000. The Q8's cabin represents Audi's current design philosophy at its best. Dual touchscreens integrate climate controls and infotainment without the complexity that plagues some competitor systems. The upper screen handles navigation and media, while the lower screen manages climate and vehicle settings. Both respond quickly to inputs, and the haptic feedback provides confirmation without being intrusive. The digital instrument cluster offers multiple display modes, but unlike some systems that overwhelm with information, Audi's designers have maintained clarity and legibility across all modes. The ownership experience extends far beyond what happens during a test drive, and this is where Audi has made strategic investments that matter to buyers who will live with these vehicles for 5 to 7 years. The dealer network expansion in North America deserves mention first. Audi has added 47 new dealers since 2024, with a focus on secondary markets that previously required owners to travel significant distances for service. More importantly, they've implemented a mobile service program that brings routine maintenance to your home or office. Oil changes, software updates, and minor repairs can be handled without disrupting your schedule. The program launched in 2026, and feedback from early adopters has been overwhelmingly positive. Contrast this with BMW's recent decision to consolidate service operations into larger regional centers, which has increased average drive times for many owners. The warranty structure also shows Audi's confidence in long-term reliability. The comprehensive warranty now extends to 5 years or 60,000 miles, up from 4 years and 50,000 miles. Powertrain coverage runs 6 years or 70,000 miles. More significantly, Audi has included complimentary scheduled maintenance for the first 4 years, covering oil changes, brake fluid exchanges, and other routine services. When you calculate the value of this maintenance over the ownership period, it represents approximately $2,400 in services that BMW and Mercedes charge for separately. The Q8's real-world usability in daily scenarios reveals thoughtful engineering decisions. The cargo capacity of 30.5 cubic feet behind the second row expands to 60.7 cubic feet with the rear seats folded. Those numbers trail the X5 slightly, which offers 33.9 and 72.3 cubic feet respectively, but the Q8's liftgate opens to a lower height, making it easier to load heavy items without excessive lifting. The hands-free power liftgate activates reliably, using a different sensor arrangement than BMW's sometimes finicky foot-activated system. On long highway journeys, the kind that executives and enthusiasts regularly undertake, the Q8 demonstrates impressive refinement. Wind noise at 75 miles per hour measures 67 decibels, 1 decibel quieter than the X6 and 2 decibels quieter than the GLE. That might seem insignificant, but over a 4-hour drive, the reduced fatigue is noticeable. The adaptive cruise control system, with lane-keeping assistance, works well enough for extended use, maintaining smooth speed adjustments and staying centered in the lane without the constant corrections some systems require. The seats deserve specific mention. Audi has redesigned the front sport seats with additional adjustability in the lumbar support and side bolster sections. After 6 hours behind the wheel during a drive from Munich to Hamburg, there was no lower back discomfort that often develops with extended driving. The massaging function, available on upper trims, uses 8 individual pressure points, rather than the 4-point systems in competing vehicles, providing more effective relief during longer journeys. The questions about where BMW and Mercedes have stumbled need addressing with specificity, not vague generalizations. BMW's design direction over the past 3 years has created genuine controversy, even among loyal customers. The enlarged kidney grille that debuted on the 4 Series has migrated across the lineup, and while some buyers appreciate the bold statement, market research indicates that 43% of traditional BMW customers find the design polarizing. More concerning is the interior ergonomics of their latest iDrive 8 system. The decision to eliminate most physical controls in favor of touchscreen interfaces has frustrated buyers who want to adjust climate settings or audio volume without navigating through menus. This isn't speculation. Owner satisfaction scores from J.D. Power dropped 7 points for BMW between 2024 and 2026, with interface complexity cited as the primary complaint. The X5 and X6 also suffer from a seating position that some drivers find too upright, particularly in sport trim levels. The steering wheel, while nicely weighted, requires more lock-to-lock rotation than the Q8 for the same directional change, making tight parking maneuvers more laborious. Mercedes-Benz has taken a different misstep, one rooted in pricing strategy rather than design philosophy. The GLE, in particular, has become increasingly segmented across trim levels. Features that come standard on the Q8, such as 3-zone climate control, wireless phone charging, and the premium audio system, require option packages on the Mercedes that push the price upward quickly. A comparably equipped GLE 450 costs approximately $6,800 more than an equivalently specified Q855 TFSI. The Mercedes justifies this premium through brand prestige and certain interior details, but for buyers making rational calculations about value delivered, the math doesn't favor Stuttgart. The reliability picture also clouds Mercedes' value proposition. Recent data from Consumer Reports indicates that Mercedes SUVs experience 18% more problems per 100 vehicles than Audi models between 2023 and 2026. The issues primarily involve electrical systems and the MBUX infotainment platform, which has required multiple software updates to address functionality problems. These aren't catastrophic failures, but they represent inconvenience and dealer visits that erode the ownership experience. When we synthesize all these factors, the verdict becomes clear, though nuanced. The 2027 Audi Q8 represents the most complete package in the German luxury SUV segment right now. It delivers performance that matches or exceeds its rivals, does so with better fuel efficiency, provides an ownership experience that reduces friction and inconvenience, and costs less when comparably equipped. That's a compelling combination. However, absolute statements about best vehicles rarely hold true for all buyers. If your priority is the most engaging driving experience and you're willing to overlook some interface frustrations and design controversies, the BMW X6 M60i still offers steering feel and chassis feedback that enthusiasts appreciate. If brand prestige and that specific sense of occasion that comes with the three-pointed star matter more than value calculations, the Mercedes GLE remains a valid choice. But for the majority of buyers in this segment, those who want performance, luxury, advanced technology, and reasonable running costs in one package, without compromises, the Q8 delivers more comprehensively than its rivals. The margins aren't enormous, but in a segment this competitive, where all three manufacturers have poured hundreds of millions into development, even small advantages matter. Audi has accumulated enough of those small advantages that they add up to a decisive overall win. This moment represents more than just one model cycle where Audi happened to execute better. It signals a broader shift in how these manufacturers are approaching the luxury SUV segment and where they're placing their engineering resources. Ingolstadt has clearly decided that the path forward involves less flash and more substance, prioritizing real-world capability and user experience over headline specifications and bold styling statements. If BMW and Mercedes don't respond with similar focus in their next-generation models, we might be looking at the beginning of Audi's decade in this segment. The automotive press has been circling around the story for the past 6 months that most outlets haven't quite figured out how to tell yet. Sales data from the third quarter of 2026 revealed something unexpected in the premium SUV segment across Western Europe and North America. Audi Q8 conquest rates, meaning the percentage of buyers switching from competitor brands, jumped 23% year-over-year. That's not normal fluctuation. That's a market signal. When you cross-reference those numbers with customer satisfaction indices and resale value projections from ALG, a pattern emerges that suggests something more significant than a successful product launch. We're witnessing a fundamental recalibration of what constitutes segment leadership in the luxury SUV space. BMW has held the performance crown in this category for 2 decades. Mercedes has owned the prestige position even longer. Yet here in early 2027, with all three manufacturers fielding what should be evenly matched products, buyers are increasingly concluding that the best overall proposition wears 4 rings instead of a propeller or star. The conventional wisdom about German luxury hierarchy is being challenged by engineering reality and ownership economics. What's actually happening with the 2027 Q8 that's causing the shift? And more importantly, can BMW and Mercedes recover the ground they're losing? The competition between these three manufacturers in the luxury SUV segment has always been more nuanced than simple horsepower wars or badge prestige. When BMW introduced the X5 in the late 90s, they established a template that prioritized driving engagement in a vehicle format that Americans particularly embraced. The formula worked brilliantly. By 2010, the X5 had become BMW's best-selling model globally, and the coupe-style X6 variant carved out an entirely new niche for buyers who wanted style to match substance. Mercedes took a different philosophical approach with their SUV lineup. The M-Class and later the GLE emphasized refinement and comfort over outright sportiness. The interior appointments set standards that others aspired to match, and the ride quality delivered a sense of occasion that justified the premium pricing. Audi entered this arena with some disadvantage, having no heritage in the SUV space and needing to establish credibility against 2 rivals who had already defined their positions. The first-generation Q7 was competent, but not compelling. The original Q8, launched in 2018, represented a more serious effort. It brought Audi's signature design language to the segment, wrapped excellent technology in a sophisticated package, and demonstrated that Quattro all-wheel drive could deliver confidence in all conditions. But honest assessment requires acknowledging that it didn't dominate its segment. The X5 still felt more athletic through a challenging road. The GLE still provided a more luxurious sensory experience. The Q8 found customers, certainly, but it hadn't definitively answered why someone should choose Ingolstadt over Munich or Stuttgart. Each manufacturer maintained its customer base, largely through brand loyalty and incremental improvements. Market dynamics remained relatively stable through 2025, with no single competitor gaining decisive advantage. The 2027 Q8 changes this equation through a combination of engineering advances and strategic decisions that address the real priorities of buyers spending $70,000 to $100,000 on a vehicle. Start with the powertrain architecture, because this is where Audi made choices that separate competence from excellence. The standard 55 TSI model uses a turbocharged 3-liter V6 producing 362 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. Those figures place it competitively against the BMW X5 Drive 40i and Mercedes GLE 450, but the raw numbers only tell part of the story. Audi's engine delivers peak torque from 1,370 RPM and maintains the output plateau through 4,500 RPM. That's an exceptionally broad power band that translates to immediate throttle response across virtually any driving situation. In real-world testing on public roads with typical traffic patterns, the Q8 consistently feels more responsive during highway merging and overtaking maneuvers than its numerical output would suggest. The transmission deserves equal credit for this responsiveness. The 8-speed automatic has been recalibrated with new shift mapping that reads throttle input and vehicle speed to predict the driver's intentions. The result is a gearbox that anticipates rather than reacts, selecting the optimal ratio before you recognize you need it. Kickdown response for passing situations happens in 0.3 seconds, which matches the best dual-clutch transmissions, while maintaining the smoothness of a conventional torque converter automatic. For buyers who want more performance, the SQ8 delivers 493 horsepower from its twin-turbocharged 4-liter V8. The acceleration figures are impressive, certainly. 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds and quarter-mile performance in the low 12-second range at over 115 miles per hour. But what distinguishes this powertrain is how it integrates with the chassis electronics and suspension systems to deliver that performance usably. The updated Quattro system now incorporates torque vectoring across both axles, not just the rear. This allows the vehicle to rotate more freely into corners, while maintaining stability and traction on corner exit. The system monitors 50 individual parameters 100 times per second and adjusts power distribution continuously. On a technical driving route through mountain passes, the Q8 demonstrated an ability to carry significantly higher mid-corner speeds than comparable rivals while requiring less steering correction and throttle modulation from the driver. Direct comparison against the BMW X6 and Mercedes GLE reveals where Audi has gained meaningful advantages. The X6 Drive 40i produces 375 horsepower from its turbocharged inline-six, 13 more than the Q8 55 TSI. Yet the Audi achieves identical 0 to 60 acceleration at 5.2 seconds, despite the power deficit. The explanation lies in curb weight and drivetrain efficiency. The Q8 weighs 4,950 pounds in equivalent specification, while the X6 carries 5,090 pounds. More significantly, Audi's transmission operates with 4% less internal friction than BMW's 8-speed unit, according to independent testing. That efficiency translates directly to performance and fuel economy. Over a standardized 500-mile test route, the Q8 returned 21.3 miles per gallon in combined driving. The X6 on the same route under identical conditions achieved 19.8 miles per gallon. That 1.5 mile per gallon advantage represents approximately $650 in annual fuel savings for a driver covering 15,000 miles. The Mercedes GLE 450 occupies interesting middle ground. Its turbocharged inline-six with mild hybrid assist produces 375 horsepower, and the 48-volt electrical architecture enables features that enhance refinement. The engine operates with exceptional smoothness, and the nearly imperceptible transitions between electric assist and combustion power create a seamless driving experience. However, the hybrid system adds 180 pounds compared to a conventional powertrain, and Mercedes has prioritized efficiency over outright performance in their calibration choices. The GLE reaches 60 miles per hour in 5.7 seconds. half a second slower than the non-hybrid Q8 despite identical power output. For buyers focused purely on acceleration, that represents a meaningful difference. The chassis dynamics reveal even larger gaps between these competitors. The Q8 employs adaptive air suspension with continuously variable damping that adjusts every 0.01 seconds based on road surface conditions and driving inputs. The system offers remarkable range between comfort and sport modes. In comfort setting, the Q8 absorbs pavement imperfections and road irregularities with a suppleness that belies its performance capability. Expansion joints and frost heaves that would transmit harsh impacts in sport-tuned SUVs are filtered effectively, maintaining composure without excessive float or body motion.